You have now entered the agency. I'm your host, Agent M. Bey, and I'm here with a friend of mine, an artist, a fellow artist. I would say we kind of learned under the same art professor from different schools, but it worked out. I got my man Chris Green here, CG Paints. Man, what's going on, bro?
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me out, man. I'm glad to be on here.
For sure. So, like, yeah, I just get in these like random pockets where I'm like, something will happen and I'll just be like, I need to interview that person. And that's when I hit up people. It's like in the moment that I say that, I'll be like, all right, I need to holler at them. And then like this, amazing story comes out of it. So I'm super excited to have you on here and just kind of, talk through our relationship, our friendship, our, your art career. And I like this setting because it gives me an opportunity to just learn more about each other. As much as you might be around each other and know all these and see each other, but might not get into the deep and in-depth things that you find you might have in relationship with. So
of course, here for it. Yes.
Yeah. So first thing I want to know is like just give them your background, like stuff like where you're from, your art background, what some of your artistic interests are.
Hey, how you guys doing? My name is Chris Green. I go by CG Paints on Instagram. And what started my love for art was definitely sketching all the time when I was younger, characters. And then once I got into high school, I just loved doing eyes, portraits, and just features of the face. And then from then on there, I went to college. That's where I learned to paint. I went to University of Maryland, Eastern Shore.
Yeah.
Even though, like you said, different school, everything with NSU, but we started under Mr. Solomon, Dr. Solomon.
Yeah.
From then on, that's where my love for like doing portraits, painting portraits, and especially art people began. And then from then on, I slowly created my style where I create art people of color portraits, and I use crazy different hues of color, not just browns.
Yeah. I'm hoping to get it to really dig into that because like I think that's a standout part of like your style is just like your use of color and how like exuberant and vibrant it is and how you're still capturing the essence of what you're looking to capture, but doing it so kind of freely as far as like how you expressively paint. I wanted to tap into a little bit like how we met because I got like two things in my head, but I'm pretty sure the first one was, I think it was like Utopia Finney. You was painting at the, I think it was their first event. They did the, like one of the contest type joints. And
it was definitely a Utopia Finney event. I don't know if it was an open mic or a contest. I definitely remember I met you first time at Utopia Finney, and you definitely came to my art event show I had at Utopia Finney as well.
Oh yeah. Fine. You're right. Forgot about that part too. I remember I was just in the space where I was just like, I don't either I just didn't feel like I knew a lot of people, or I was just like how can I just like show up and like participate in people's things. And so like I'm the type of person that'll like I'll show up because I'm interested, but never really tell the people that like I'm showing up. I just pull up and be like, yo, I've been watching you. I rock what you're doing. Tell me some more. You know what I mean? Because I remember were you painting? I'm trying to remember what you were painting. Because I was looking for the pictures. I remember I was taking photos that day, Utopia Finney. And then
that was like 3 years ago.
Yeah. I think I like hit you up randomly, or either I said something that night, or I hit you up randomly. It was like, yo, I took a bunch of pictures of you. I was curious if you wanted them. Because I remember I had a piece inside for like the contest they had going on. And then you was outside painting for that event. So I was like, yeah, let me just go out here and support. I had my camera. It was a dope event too.
If it was outside, it was probably the event. I remember I was painting on like a piece of wood.
Yeah.
It was like a jazz guy with sunglasses.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, that's the one. So yeah, that was that. And then I think when I had my show in like 2018 at Zeke's Cafe, you were pulled up.
Oh yeah, definitely. I remember
nice
that
moment right there. I was super appreciative of that. Because I think at that time for me too, I was like just getting to know some people outside of school.
Yeah.
So like for somebody like you to pull up and like show the support, I was just like, it was a big moment for me. So I really appreciated that. And so I was like, yeah, if I show up for people show up for me. We just keep that going. It'd be dope.
Of course, I love that energy. We gotta support each other.
Right.
together as Black artists from the same area. We
Facts.
gotta show. Yeah.
Um, and so like getting a little bit more into like history, is there like any art in your like family history or artists that you kind of looked up to or inspired you, or where did you find your inspiration from as far as other artists, I guess?
Inspiration as for other artists, it's a combination of both. So I feel like I got my original talent slash love for art. All the men in my family do some type of art, whether it was my grandpa was an architect, he used to do floor plans. My dad used to do portraits. I remember when he always showed me this portrait he drew of him and my mom on their first date and like stuff like that. So like I grew up from a family that it was always into some type of art,
Yeah.
but they never went past to that next level, I guess,
Mhm.
past the college, you know what I'm saying, to get
Yeah.
into career. So I feel like this is the first one in my generation, my family, take my art and do it as a career.
Yeah.
And love, yeah, the original, love for art
Yeah.
began.
Yeah, it's pretty. This story's pretty same for me too. Like my father is my kind of first inspiration, and he pretty much did it into high school, and that was it. But like growing up, he had art. Always had art around, art books, and he was always doing sketches and drawings. And he had a few pieces that he still had. That he was like holding on to. That like in my head, that are like the best art I ever seen. Because I was young, and that was probably the only really art that I knew, or person that I knew that created artwork at that, to that level. And I'm sure if I saw it back again, I'd probably be able to critique it and be like, that wasn't as good as I thought it was.
Oh yeah, of course.
But in my head, like, nah, it's too perfect in my head. There's no way it was, ever any, anybody did anything better than that. And I think there were a few other artists in my family on my father's, my grandfather's side of the family, my father's father's side of the family. I didn't really know them that well, but there's like a portrait of my grandfather that I think his brother did in him. And so yeah, that's interesting. We both kind of got that same background path as far as like having artists in the family, but never really took it past, doing some drawings, whatever, or seeing it like this.
Yeah, past like I think my dad showed me all this time. Like he had like a high school. So the story, he had a high school portfolio full of art, and someone stole it senior year. Yeah, he said someone stole his whole portfolio with over 25 artworks, and that was when you get to art school, but he never went past the art school.
Yeah.
Terrible. And back then there was no digital, so if you hit that was really
that was it. That's a fact. Speaking of digital, I know that you really got into or really into digital art. So where did that kind of interest come? Because I know you also have like a graphic design background or do graphic design work. So what is your story with digital art and where you like began with it versus where you taking it now?
I guess I had to start really young. I always loved computers when I was a kid, doing programs, taking them apart, learning different scripts. I think I learned a little bit of Java. I learned a drop of C++ and Python, and just doing random stuff, loving code, loving how computers worked. And I always loved art. So when I went to college, I was applied design major, where you learn, of course, your traditional painting and drawing, but then like the last 2 years, you also do digital stuff. So that's where I always used Photoshop for fun, but then that's where I fell in love with using like the computer and the art like together, which is digital. And that's where I learned like illustration and just the basics of stuff like that. And just over the years, I've been using the iPad, Procreate, and just been perfecting it. Especially with Procreate, it makes it so intuitive, where it's like no difference from paper to pen.
Yeah. I've been watching my girl use it, and I've like messed around with it every now and then when like she leaves it out, and I'm like, oh, let me do this. She was doing one of her designs, and I saw something, and I was like, I could do that for her or make it a little better or whatever. It was like a hand or something. You know how difficult hands can get. And so I think the reference image that she had didn't have a hand in it, so she kind of sketched something in there. So then I was like,
you basically made up the hand.
Yeah. So I was like, let me hook that up for her. So I went back and like sketched it in real quick. And then every now and then, like if we're like just hanging out and she's working on something, I might try to mess around with it. Like let me try something. And she was like trying to work on a design or something. I was like, kind of messing with that. And like that was the first time I really that was the deepest I got into it. And I realized how easily you can like mimic your wherever your style is. So I was like doing some like sketchy, like my usual sketch illustration stuff, and it was really coming across and feeling like that. And I was like, man, it really is as intuitive as they make it seem. And so
love it, yeah.
and one day when somebody grants me a free iPad, I'll hook it up.
Oh man, yeah, put that up in there. Somebody in the what you call it?
Yeah, right.
The universe, it'll come back, right?
Yeah, win me one of those, man. And so yeah, I'm actually gonna hop into some of the images now, because the more we talk about it, the more it's just like, oh yeah, those things. So
yeah, but yeah, that's where the digital love came from, and playing around with it, playing with the colors, you can do so much more. Because since I learned the tricks and tips from like Photoshop, and basically, so I'm using what I know doing digital tricks and tips on Photoshop, and with the skills I learned from drawing. So it's even more, yeah.
All right, so yeah, and then we go back to sharing the screen. We'll go desktop. Boom. You can see that?
Oh yeah. Oh, my digital. Hey.
Yeah. So yeah, as I was scrolling trying to look for stuff at first, like it was this section on your Instagram that just had me like, man, like this stuff right here. I think just the look of your Instagram and like the color palette and the movement. And I was like, I just need to do like an appreciation of like just the section of work in here. And yeah, I think like you said, like all of this is digital, isn't it?
All of that digital, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, just for the for the viewers, just to get a sense of like what you do and like the diversity of your digital work, and I mean, this looks like you're having a lot of fun, and I think that's the beauty of it. And I think that avatar reference Jasmine, I think.
Oh yeah, yep, that's Jasmine.
Yeah.
I did her as the avatar, but I made her blue, and
Yeah.
out there, like she's in the avatar state, and I gave her like the Zuko scar, and gave her like the Airbender tattoos. Yeah.
Yeah, you got all the pieces in. That's fire. Yeah. See, I wanted to do that before I got into like the some of the solo images, which is what I'm gonna do now. And so, like, as much as like, I know a couple times we talked about sketchbooks and like wanting to trade and trade sketchbooks, and so like seeing this, scrolling through, just like this stuff was like near like at the bottom of your feed, and I was like, man, like I don't remember seeing this stuff, and just like looking at just like the movement of the line, and it's always interesting to see how things translate from like mediums, and like the pencil is still always my favorite, so like I wanted to know more about like your this kind of working in your sketchbook, and even working with like pencil and where that is.
Oh yeah, so this one was years ago. This had to be over like 8 years ago.
Nice.
I was really going for, I was working with more graphite than not color yet. I was working on how can I make the actual skin and the way the shape is that you can tell it's rounded instead of being flat and smooth and shaded. I was like, how can I make the pencil strokes to give it curvature, to give it like underneath her eyebrows where her skin of her lids come down, her cheek very like kind of puffs out at the bottom, and how can I show that roundedness? Right. And that's when I started to kind of I would do long curvy lines to go with the contour of her body, and I also do squiggly when it gets really near the shadow, really squiggly lines. I also went with the contour line, but the opposite way to get that double, when cross hatches. Yeah. And I was really trying just to make her like come off the page. I never even finished it. That's why some parts are white still. I kind of like that, but I never finished it.
And this is another one I thought was just as
I was the same going for that same style. Where you kind of see where this is one I never finished this either, but I kind of like the unfinished, but like the roundness of curvature of her back, the cheeks, the eyes, especially the forehead. The forehead really shows. Yeah, how I just wanted it. Oh, you want to make me start going back on like.
Yeah, that's what this is about. Yeah, I think this one is like super strong, especially just like the like the completeness of the eyes and like the face, but then like as you move outside of the center, it gets more unfinished. Now I was talking to I had posted a sketch recently, and I remember my brother is saying something about, is this finished? Because I noticed something, this, that, and the third. And I was just like, what is finished? In my head, I was like, what is finished when you're talking about a sketchbook? Because like in my head at that moment, I was thinking like, once I get the idea out that I was going for, like that's that can be considered complete to me, but it might not look like a finished image. But like the concept of the idea that I was studying, because that's really what my sketchbook is for, is like it's research. So like, will this research ever end? Does studying ever stop? So I was like, what is complete? Like it's complete is, I don't know. I just trying to redefine what that meant. So like I see that in this too. So it's kind of it's interesting. I like this. I think just like the
exactly.
game, man.
Sketching. I always tell people. I feel like as an artist, like painting is the execution. It's like game day if you was a athlete, but sketching is practice. That's that's where we go in to come up with our ideas. That's where we go in to work craft. Like I know so many artists who don't own sketchbooks, and that's crazy to me. What?
Yeah, I know it. I know it.
But yeah, I feel like that's why I love sketching, because you're probably like me, where I have an idea. If I don't sketch it down, I'll forget about it.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I always carry a sketchbook just in case I'll come up with a crazy idea. I can just do a quick 10-15 minute gesture of it.
Yeah. Like my I never really liked, like in graphic design, they used to tell you to make your like your not your storyboards, but like in graphic design, sketching was more so like finding like references. Your reference book was more so like that reference book to see other designs and how they work, kind of have those to go back to. And so for me, that's just like taking screenshots of like images that I would sketch that I don't have the time to like do right then. So like I'm always like scrolling Instagram and taking images or screenshotting images that stand out to me, because at some point I want to put that down on paper, or I might take my own photos and do the same thing. And so that's how I like try to maintain my ideas. And then once I get to it, I get in the moment, I just I get into that sketchbook. And I was in there recently where I was like, I did a couple of drawings, and then I was like, this has got me so interested and intrigued. So I had to I was in my sketchbook like a couple of days in a row, just kind of putting stuff down. And even the painting series that I've been working on, like these small ones are kind of like sketchy to me, because it's like a freeing experience to just kind of lay the paint down and get ideas out and try to figure it out or figure something out before I'm working on a larger scale.
Yeah, it's so freeing just to like not to draw or not to work on a project and have like a deadline, just to do it just for the fun of it and just the idea. Especially I did a few pictures recently where I just went out and sketched in the park in nature.
Yeah, we actually will get to that at the end of this, because I feel like that's where you're at. So it's gonna come back full circle. So
okay.
I think I just think people have really interesting stories as they like share them through Instagram. It's kind of like what my work is about anyway. It's like how people share and express themselves on like in the digital world. And so I think it's really interesting to like follow that trend. And so it might be like just following somebody's Instagram path and being like, do you know that your story reads this way? Or, or just kind of addressing people at those different points in their life and seeing what they're talking about. So yeah, like I went through this, like I was like noticing all your dry media stuff as you were like the few things that you got on your Instagram that you were posting. I was just like, man, I haven't seen this stuff. And like this stuff is like it's just fantastic. Like and this one I thought was really interesting because it has that, I start to see that color palette coming in that you use. But it's it's using a dry media. So like, I'm curious about this one too, just like as far as using colored pencils and how you were like working this style out.
Oh yeah, I might go back to start using pencils and color pencils. This was the first time I used colored pencils since I was like a little kid or something.
Yeah.
And I always was looking on YouTube, like, what's the best color pencils to get? Everyone said Prisma.
Colors,
Yeah. So I was just playing around with it. I just use colored pencils, and I use a technique where you remember when you do like shading with a regular graphite pencil, you would use Q-tips. So colored pencils and Q-tips to blend the color. And then I love how what you can't do with paint sometimes is how you can lightly build upon. So I could really light hints of green, pink, oranges, and reds. But then when you look far away, it looks kind of like the different colors in the skin tone, but like overly saturated. So it looks
Right.
even more. Yeah. And that's why I was really into, if you could see, I was more into like hyper realism, trying to perfect, like trying to look most realistic as I can.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just about to say something about that. It's really interesting, like at that phase, you were going for that. I think I had that phase. I had a phase like that too, where I was like, and I think it's a natural phase. I think it's happened through art history as well. As you look at like early art was, well, before like Byzantine, like where people just didn't have the skill level at the time. But when you get into like kind of your Renaissance art, you've got those hyper realistic or realistic images, or portraying the perfect look of a being or a human. And then once you start to move into modern art, you start to get into your more expressive styles of your cubism and things like that, where everybody's like moving away from realism. But if you look at like the history of a lot of those modern artists, a lot of them perfected realism, but then they needed more out of their experience, and so they all kind of branched off into different areas, trying to create something that was more like ephemeral almost from their experience. And I think that that's like a natural progression for artists that they should go through. Well, not should go through, but that many of them go through, especially the ones that get more abstract. It's like, well, I can draw something that's super hyper realistic, but it doesn't do anything for me. So I got to make something that feels a certain way now.
That's literally what I went through. I was all caught up in the detail and looking at super high realism, and it looks amazing, and that's a beautiful skill. That's like an art skill.
Yeah.
But what does it show? What does it mean? What story does it tell? What are you saying? That's where I got more into that, and I got more into the story versus trying to look as realistic as I can.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, as long as you can tell what the subject is, that's what really matters, and you can convey the meaning. It doesn't really matter how super high realistic you can do it.
Right.
It looks amazing, and it's a really good art skill, but that's why I love when artists can do both, when they can have a crazy, crazy, beautiful tell a story and then have the hyperrealism as well.
Yeah. And I think that's a space that I always find myself like questioning at times, because like this is the most relatable. So like at the kind of base level, if you're trying to like gain followers or interest, like people can see a realistic image, and that's what they're most attracted to. Most commissions that come out are going to be people wanting portraits of somebody. So it's like, oh yeah, you can do a portrait that looks like the person that I want you to do the portrait of. And so boom, that's how it's easy. It's an easy like flow of as far as easier economy, because people are looking for something that they can easily relate to, as opposed to when you're trying to tell this larger, grander story of like human experience that takes you around the person's body, like my work, and then come back at the end with it, to hit somewhere else. And then trying to get people to be interested in that as well is really interesting. But I always feel like I have to, as an artist, I have to push that ticket even more to be like, yeah, I gotta keep telling my story. Find
like different avenues and exploring. Like this is a perfect example of like me. You see how like the last 3 images you posted is like all different styles.
Yeah.
And that was me. This was my exploring phase. This was me in my right after college trying to figure out what style I wanted to go for. And this is one of my first few digital art pieces. I remember I did this on Illustrator. Like,
oh wow,
TS's. This is like an old Illustrator.
Yeah.
and it was basically a combination of I'll fill in the shadows in like big chunk pieces, kind of like Old Bay style, and then I will go on top where I did like a cross hatching with the last final darkest color. And I could pin pack because you're making me pick out like the fine nitpicks of my artwork, because I can see I didn't even mask. You see like the white highlights on the side of her hair. I didn't even mask it right, so you can see the white, the green as well.
Yeah.
So you're making me look at all this stuff I messed up.
Yeah, I thought it felt like that when I was like scrolling, and I was like, I know this is digital work, but it looks so different from what you're doing now. So I was like, this has to be something that's like earlier in his career, obviously.
So early, this is before I had the tablet with the pencil. This is when I had like the wacom pads where you drawing the computer with flat gray surface.
Yeah.
Then this is
yeah. My tripod just fell.
Oh man.
It's like sitting up really tall, and then it was like on like the legs were brought in really close. So because I kept like when I had it out, I kept tripping over it because I was like leaving it where it was because I like the angle I was shooting at. But I moved it in to get it away from me. And I just sit here as you were talking, I'm just watching it slowly. Like,
watching it go before. Oh yeah.
I was just like, I can't do nothing about this.
Understand the pain.
Yeah, right. See, let me get into the next one. So yeah, this gets more into your deeper, I think digital works, and see if you like get in like I like this one because like I was just share something that on a friend of mine just posted something about I think like posted something from a J. Cole concert, but like like right before I started grad school, or before I even knew I was going to grad school, I went to a J. Cole concert down at Virginia Beach at the amphitheater.
Oh, nice.
The night before I was supposed to go up. Matter of fact, I think it was that night. Like I went to the concert that night and then left the concert and took a bus up to New York. And so like in that trip, like he was during that, it was something, a moment in that concert he was talking about like just pretty much stepping out on faith, taking that leap of faith and doing what it is that you wish you want to do. And I was just going to New York. I was just working my job, about to go to New York, visit some friends, nothing crazy. But on that trip to New York, I got a call from Solomon about grad school and saying that, it's like, I think your application was complete and you should be good to come in or to start grad school. And I'm like, yo, it's 2 weeks before school starts. This was like, like early August when I, went up to New York. And so I had to like make a decision in that, like during that trip to be like, are you about to go to grad school and pursue this career of art that you wanted, or sit back and keep working this job, making this money and trying to figure out the rest of it on your own? And so it was like that concert led me into, essentially, or was influential to me, like taking that leap of faith, like let's just go out here and do my thing.
So if you didn't see that concert, you went the other way, basically.
Yeah, it's possible. Yes, it's really very possible. So yeah. But so yeah, shout out to J. Cole and this piece that you did on him. What was some of your inspiration for this one?
Oh, I love J. Cole, and back in the day when you first started off, it was always Cold World.
Yeah, it's a fact.
I mean, the first song I ever heard, first song I ever heard by him was Lights Please, and I was like, I fell in love with him ever since then, and it was always Cold World. So I feel like his evolution was so much past the world. Like when J. Cole started, he was the Cold World. So now his locks are longer. He's into his natural thing. So I got him as Cold Universe. So where he's like sitting on different planets.
Yeah.
And like and he's also like the sun, the celestial being looking over through all the planets. So he's like, his whole universe is cold now. Not just the world, the whole universe. And that was the idea behind it. It was Cold Universe, like he's just taking over.
I like that. Yeah, it's almost remind me of that that planet in the Marvel universe that's a celestial's head.
Oh yeah. I was just thinking of random stuff. I was like, yo, that'd be dope if we were sitting on one time, he was sitting on one, and the next one his head is on it.
Yeah.
I kind of did, like, since it's Pluto, like kind of like a Pluto's Saturn ring, it's like a cold planet. I wanted him like zombie-ish looking.
Yeah.
My eyes, yeah.
That's fire. What's my next one? Oh yeah. That is a perfect question for this one too. So you did the digital side on the right side of this?
Oh yeah.
All right, I'll just make it. That was gonna draw me into another question, but I remember when you posted it, so I was like, oh, this is fire. And I felt like the time that you had posted this was, to me, I think it felt like a response to something else. But it not like in a bad way, but just to let, like, it was an artist's way to be like, well, this is me doing my own thing. I don't need to. But I was gonna ask you a question about like how you feel about like filters in like digital space, or like, like social media, or like I guess those tune apps that people know, like every now and then there's like, you see the internet get flooded where everybody like, I think the newest one was like this Disney filter that like everybody was doing, where everybody gets
Oh,
cleaned up
I
to look
mean,
like a.
it's I see how people get all excited about those things, but for me, anybody who's a real artist can tell that's not a real drawing. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, but only people who are normal people who like, oh my gosh, it looks the same to them. Yeah, but no.
Yeah,
The quality. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, I always like, I know that as an artist, I remember somebody else that posted, another friend of mine that posted something about, I was like, does anybody else get tired of all these like filter things that pop up? And I was like, yeah, they happen like every few years, or every few months, a new one comes out. And then everybody like, you see everybody, your friends is like, oh, here go mine, here go mine, here go mine. I was like, all y'all doing is just clicking a button and somebody's digital, what are the algorithm is putting it together to make you all look like some version of yourself. And so like, as an artist, I'm like, yo, I could just, like, you could just let me do it or do it. You know what I mean? Like I can do my own. I don't need to. I get so frustrated when everybody get excited about it. But it's just that.
What you call it?
Huh?
No, I was thinking like that's probably how I think my professor in college was telling me like the old school artists felt like when I did art history when like the painters when photography first came out. Because back in the day, where you can get your portrait done, you got to sit down and someone will have to paint you. Now it's on photography, you sit for like 5 minutes and then you have a picture.
Yeah, facts. Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, I think the last time I really got like invested in any one of these type of things was when like MySpace was popping and Pharrell had the the little Pharrell characters he had back in the day. If you just tie whatever, it was like the ice creams, it was like Bathe the Nation really popping.
Ice cream, yeah, all that.
Yeah, I had, and even and even then, I was like, I created all my own. Even then, like I think I took like the base character, and then I went back and edited it like probably like a couple of times, maybe at least up to 9 times, where I had to like, put their own like designs on it and everything. And I was using MS Paint at that point on an old Microsoft.
Oh, that's old school Microsoft. Yeah. Oh my god!
But I was freaking Microsoft Paint back then. Like I was like,
man, I used to hate Microsoft Paint. Any one pixel off with the filling, and when they do that, flooding the whole screen.
That's a fact. That's a fact. That's what I was about to say. I was like, yo, it's like pixel. Just get your pixels right.
Yeah, you gotta zoom all the way in, trying to find the little gap, the 1 pixel gap.
Right. So yeah, in that regard, I remember when you posted this, and I was like, "This is fire." I appreciate this. Was kind of in my head again. I was thinking like, "Oh, this is a fire response to that." It's like, yo, I can do my own thing, and I will because I enjoy, just often enjoying it yourself and being like, letting people know that you got it like that.
Oh yeah, and that's the spot. It shows my love for anime. I drew me like an anime style.
Yeah. I did myself as like as a Gorillas character. I think that happened. That was one of the ones recently that kind of upset me because I did my own like years ago. I did it as a sketch in my sketchbook. And I came back another time and digitized it. And then recently I think an app that came out and it was like, oh, make yourself as a Gorillas character. And so I think on one of my friends' posts, I just posted like, I was like, man, I did this back in like 2012, bro. Y'all late. Could have been hooked y'all up, man. Also,
yeah, it's crazy how those trends come out all the time. And what sucks is when it's just only going to get worse as technology goes on. They're going to get better and better as replicating like, the real illustration.
Yeah, so that's the field we're in. This might be one of the last digital joints. This was fire. Return
to act. So I always thought it would be dope because I love comics growing up. I love reading anime, mangas, watching stories. And I never saw Black people being represented as the main character or something different. So I was like, yo, what if we had our heroes from Black history? So the kids will know about the leaders of yesterday in Black history, but in a cool way in a comic book. So I did kind of like Malcolm X, like the Punisher, but he got the gold guns, you know what I'm saying? And he got the X at the skull, he got the X on his chest.
Yeah. And what's interesting is like, even though it's, at first glance, it's like, oh, it's cool. It's, it pops out, it does, has this, but then it still has like all the elements of like elements of design and principles of design in it, to where like you got things like repetition, where you got the X on the shirt, X in the background, then you got the X for the title, so you got that like repetition in there. You got the texture and all of that, and so like as much as it's like, oh, this is cool image, like the image and the like composition is always still important regardless. That like there's something that people might not understand that's attracting them to the works. Like if you put it together well, people will look at it and be like, oh, this looks so good. But it's like it's something might be so subtle that the artist puts into it, but nobody really understands why they're attracted to it.
Oh yeah, the small details is everything. Like the highlights and the gold of the gun, the cast shadow behind them. Even this the little I wanted to shade his hair. We could tell kind of the texture of his hair. And I think my favorite detail was probably if you could see where he has the fist on his shoulder, that fit with the ripped shirt, and I put the cast shadow in the rip, and I was like, oh yeah, now it looks super realistic.
Yeah, it was funny that you say that, because like I think that too when it comes to my work. Like it's certain pieces, if you ask me like what's my favorite part, it'll be the like most obscure thing that like nobody's paying attention to, but I'll remember to like what it was about that might be like, oh, that's what it was. I remember that happened with my sister one time. She was looking at something that I was doing, and I went back and did like 3 lines to like shade something, and that'd be like, that part became my favorite. She was like, what did that just do? And I was just like, you'll never understand. Like, I needed to do it. Now it's my favorite part.
it brings it all together. It's like that focal point. But yeah, I love looking at my work and looking at the details and always trying to perfect it, because it sucks, because as us as artists, we are worst critique, so I don't see like, oh, this is so great. I just see all the flaws in it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you just gotta enjoy and live with it. Like, you also gotta be so brilliant enough to be like, if I do any more to it, I'm just gonna destroy it and mess it up. So like, this mistake has to live as a plus, because if I try to fix it, it's just, I'll destroy it. Granted, when it comes to digital, it's a lot easier to fix something because you can just like go back or erase.
Oh yeah, digital.
Whereas that's traditional.
Yeah, you can't go back. Yeah, it's so. I think it's I was using digital to the point. One point, it was funny. I was using digital so much, while using Procreate, you tap 2 fingers down on your screen to undo something. One time I was sketching on a pencil, and I don't know why I did. I started tapping 2 fingers on the pencil tap.
That's funny. Yeah, it's funny in a way.
Yeah, I was like, oh yeah, undo this. I was like, oh
yeah, man. The influence of technology, man, I tell you.
Yeah.
I do that from like app to app. Like I might be so used to doing something on Instagram to where if I'm on Facebook on my phone and I'm looking at something and I want to like it, I try to like tap it to say I'm liking it. But that's even crazier when it comes into like real world.
Yeah, 2 fingers on my sketch pad.
I was like, get out of here. Why is it not working?
Oh man.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, I was just so used to just doing that. Like,
right.
Undo.
Yeah, I like a lot of these worlds that you build too. Like this kind of reminds me of the J. Cole one too. But like, kind of the more fantasy, and you mentioned like being into anime. I think we've had a couple conversations about anime too. I remember it was at that one festival you was at, and we was talking about different anime shows and things like that. So this one definitely stood out too, just from like the depth of the work, and again, like talking about rhythm and movement and how it's all like making sense to where like she's clearly like a tree house, and there's that natural element, and then like in the background you have these trees that are faded in the background. They could be something else, but they also could be trees, and just like the piece. And then like I think your color theory is just like top notch too.
That's why I love digital too, where I could just go crazy with like the glowy effects. Like,
yeah,
I wanted to make it dynamic, so when you first see it, we're really on the left side. What really calls to you is all the warm and yellow lights and how it hits all the feet. It was giving like a purple effect. But then the orb on that, and she's holding like one blue orb, which is glowing crazy bright, and you get to see the way she's doing it. It's like you're seeing it from like a point of view where that whole one side is completely underneath her glowing. That And I also want to do like the tattoos on her, like on her, the tree woman's face had of blues growing. So I also wanted the doorway to be open as blue. So I wanted to make it like on the outside, you might see all the orange on the yellows, but the inside is all the blues.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, like, it just reminds me of like just, just a lot of fun. And then you have like this, again, thinking about like color placement. You got this one, like pink lightning bolt coming in to where most people like, you wouldn't even question why it's there because you have all the other pinks and magentas in the background, to where that might be the strongest element in that color, and it's the only one of it in the foreground, but in the background it like gives you that balance of like foreground and background, which is like this is another reason why I like doing these interviews and bringing images in. It gets to allow me to like critique work and like just have conversations that are like art centered and use all the art terminology that I learned in school, and then remind myself that I'm also like, I'm this educated, I care this much, and this is all stuff that I like put into my own craft. So it's fun like going back and like revisiting and having these conversations with other artists.
Yeah, it's just crazy how everyone has like their own unique different way they do everything.
Yeah,
and then you're like, oh, that's why I love people picking different artists' brain, because I could do that, but I would never thought to do it the way you would do it,
Yeah.
And it makes you, that could be more efficient, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And
I think this is interesting because this one is actually behind you, over your right shoulder.
Oh yeah, right here.
Yeah, I was like, that's that one. But yeah, I pulled this one because it's interesting to me that like this feels like it was earlier than like some of the other works that I got coming up. But it has like some elements, so like the couple of like the yellow and red stripes or marks you got in there, that like there's just a couple of them. I think they like those show up a lot more, or become like the technique more so in your other works or your current works. So I thought it was interesting that like the way this pops out, like this is probably painted a tad bit more traditionally, with a couple of those marks. But then when I pull up the other images, it's like you went into that like just your technique of using kind of hash marks, and things like that. But
I think I never noticed it, but you're right. This is one of the first paintings where I use more like the underlayers, more like you said, the traditional paintings, but then I do just big large globs of just paints. And I use flat brushes, and I use like I kind of like use this slide across.
Yeah.
And thick to thin, and I load the brush. This is one of the first times. I remember I wouldn't even do this anymore. I wouldn't do like this contrasty color like that, something like that. But it's crazy seeing how the beginning phase of how I first started doing it,
Right. Yeah. Because you get, this is like a blend of like, when you go looking back into like your more realistic like, sketches and color pencil work, where you got a more defined face. You're trying to capture her resemblance, what I mean, as much as possible. But then like I'll just go ahead and go into like some.
Oh, I just noticed something that was throwing me all off. Her thumb is way off.
With the one, yeah.
Later on.
Yeah.
Yeah, her thumb is way off. I never noticed that, which is funny.
Yeah. That's why I think I remember Solomon saying before, like when he gets finished with a piece, of like turn it around, you know what I mean? Like face it up against the wall, because if you look at it too much, you'll find mistakes and want to go fix it. So I do that sometimes. So it's like, I don't need to look at these anymore, because I'll try and go back and fix it. I think this is another.
You want to torture yourself? When you, especially as a digital artist, do the flips. Oh man.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, the mirror flip.
Yeah.
You see all the mistakes in your work.
You got another one of Jasmine here. And this is painting. I think this one feels very digital, but then like I can see where the paint is in there.
No, this is actually a traditional,
right?
A traditional painting. I just did the background over it digitally.
Oh, okay.
because I wanted to make it was basically the painting was like it went to the edge, so all you saw was her face and nothing to the sides. And I
Uh-huh.
wanted more square for Instagram, so I added the background in.
Fire.
But
So,
it's original. The title was called Ice Queen, and it's an original traditional painting.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, acrylic paint
Fire.
on canvas.
Yeah, even looking at this one, like it's still like it's again like following the progression. Like I think at the time that I might originally saw this, I still felt like the kind of use of color and exploration of color, but I think it just gets so much like more expressive in your work as we get like move into like some of them later. So like this one again, like this, it feels almost like a earlier study where you were just like, all right, I'm trying to go crazy with the color and move as far away from like trying to like make it look, the skin look, copper tone or browns, and just kind of do whatever. So yeah, like tell me a little bit about this one and where you at, if I'm on point with that or not.
Yeah, this is one of the ones I really wanted to show the contrast to the cool and warm.
Yeah.
But in this one, I really wanted to go for the more abstract looking at, like that's what kind of like one of my styles I use now is like an abstract portrait, and this is
Mm-hmm.
kind of the first one ever I did like that, where it's like the middle of the face is the most detailed, like the center point, and as you go
Right.
further, it gets blurry, like the outsides of his face. I want to be like almost like a blurry image, not in
Right.
focus. So I was trying to do where it kind of blends into the background and some other things pop, and mainly the brush. You can see like I love how I think when I was always growing up, especially watching Bob Ross like on TBS, how
Yeah.
close up you saw his work and you just saw it was a bunch of brush strokes of colors, but far
Right.
away
Right.
you saw like the perfect image. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always love that look because that makes you want to go right into the painting and just look at it, and you see
Mm-hmm.
the brush strokes. You like, but then far away you see this whole masterpiece.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's one thing to master in itself. I was talking to a friend of mine recently about one of his pieces where he had, it was a large piece, but he had taken a couple of pictures of it like close up to where
Mm-hmm.
like zoomed in. I was like, man, I like just this cropping that you did where like this one feels like I will put that on my wall over the entire piece. And I was like, man, you can sell prints of like just croppings of your abstract piece and sell that out. So it's
Cause
really, again, as I
in the
said, so
oh
yeah.
yeah.
So like if I had zoomed in on this one like this and was just like, and like that part, minus the pixelation, and been like, yo,
Yeah.
that I was like, that stands out to me. But then like, yeah, that's just a piece of this painting here, like
Mm. It's art, like in the art. It's crazy.
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
And I think yeah, again, like it's really interesting looking at this piece and like sensing or being familiar enough with your work or following it enough to know that like this felt like earlier than what you're doing now, just because like the mark making it looks so much different, but I can tell that you were like what you were attempting to do here and how it like progressed to what you're doing now,
Mm.
to where you got something
Uh,
like this that's like
it's perfected, basically.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you've like there's like this kind of organic pixelation. I just came up with that, but
Mm.
it's not a new concept, but yeah, like
I love that hidden like you see a bunch of different, even especially using crazy contrasting colors. Now you really see the pixelations,
right,
and it's even better because it's not digital pixelations, which are just little cubes.
right,
They're all different size natural brushstrokes, which is even
right,
crazy.
right.
And
This shows just like a certain mastery of like your tools and being like, all right, I'm using bigger brushes for these sections, and I'm gonna come in and use my smaller brushes for this, and like knowing how to capture like definition through just the use of the tool, because you can't get as defined of a line with a thick brush as you can with a thin brush or a smaller brush. And so knowing that like, all right, if this area is going to be detailed, let me go ahead and use my smaller brush, but using the same type of like mark making to, again, like you were just saying about like the Bob Ross thing, which is like, if you zoomed in, you notice the brush strokes were, creating their own images to kind of abstract paintings. But when you zoom out, it's a full on, maybe landscape or something like that.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, my favorite one. Yeah, I actually want to
yeah.
start more like that. Funny story about this one. It came about. I had a pipe burst in my house. I had to get the pipe fixed, but then I had to once they fixed the pipe, they had to cut open this big hole in your drywall, and you gotta fix that yourself. So I ended up like
Wow.
just learning how to look on YouTube, learn how to replace drywall. So I got a bunch of drywall sheets and I fixed the piping, but left over, I had a bunch of drywall sheets left over, and I started painting on the drywall sheets. And this was the first painting I did on the drywall sheet.
Oh wow.
But yeah, one of the first ones I did. And that's also, it gave it this cake texture, because even when you work on a canvas, that first layer like sits, kind of absorbs a little bit, but sits on top.
Yeah.
Really. So then that second layer takes to build on top. But when you do that dry layer, each layer you start building up top automatically, because the surface you're working on.
Nice. Yeah, I'm gonna be interested to see how like you get because like just knowing like the drywall like material can like it's strong, because I mean it's supposed to be strong because it's like holds up, well not holds up, but like we can't, in some instances like it holds up the house, like it's intended for like structure, but like the drywall itself is pretty brittle, you know what I mean? If you hit it hard enough it'll break, you know. So like and trying to like make the work, you know, sustainable and you know being able to like just present it in a way that like it won't fall apart, you know, whatever, and shore it up to where like wood is not gonna just like, you know, if you paint on wood it's not gonna go nowhere unless it gets wet, you know. But every material has its thing, you know.
That's why I like drywall, because like you said, it's like it's really secure, but at the same time you can just you score a little bit with X-Acto blade, you can do a little pressure will break the whole thing in half.
Yeah.
When you do that.
Yeah.
But it's the structure of it so good. Unlike wood, drywall is not warping.
Yeah. Facts.
That's why I don't like about wood's way stronger than drywall, but wood's gonna warp.
Yeah. 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 At some point I was thinking I would like exclusively work on, well, I was working on like paneling. But because again, like it like hardboard won't warp as much from like exposure to materials or the elements, but it will like warp because it's so thin that like if you frame it wrong, it'll you know it's very malleable, or you know, or pliable in that regard. To where it's like, you know, so I have a couple of pieces where like, you know, I built the frame around them, and then like because the wood that I built it on was warped, the panels warped, and so then you stuck with, you know, so you stuck with, you know, the warping off the wood. So like trying to find that medium is always interesting. So I still like, you know, so when it comes to like paneling, I either like at this point I would just buy the ones that are, you know, come from like, you know, an art store or something like that, because they're, you know, built pretty structurally. Or I've had ideas of just painting, you know, just as the, you know, on the flat paneling, and not, you know, kind of building up and having that be a part of the story too, is why I'm using just that thin board and like just put that up. But you know, I'll get to that when I get me a real studio space. Till then, the canvas is gonna have to do.
Canvas line.
Hey, shout out to art and activism. You know what I mean? We got you in here doing your thing.
I even go grab it. It's right near me.
Yeah, you can do that.
Yeah, that's funny.
Double the fist.
That's one of my favorite paintings.
Nice. Yeah, that's it.
Can you see it there?
Yeah. Yeah.
On the color. The funniest story about this one. This is all about the Black Lives Matter protest.
Right.
And before this artwork almost didn't come about because I wasn't going to go. I was still debating it. My friend invited me out, and I was always 50-50 because just when you was hearing about the protest, of course, the protest, when you hearing about people getting mazed, pepper sprayed, tear gas, rubber bullets, and you're like, I don't know, I want to protest. So literally, I was still so debating it. And this was at the protest in Virginia Beach. We walked from Mount Trashmore all the way to the oceanfront.
All right.
Yeah.
I was trying to recognize the street. I was like, I think I know it. I see like a Wells Fargo in there or something.
That's like right near the town center kind of area.
Yep.
Yeah. And knowing me, I'm an artist, and I was like, I had to have a dope sign, a cool sign. So literally, once I made my mind I was gonna go, I painted this literally an hour and a half before the protest.
Wow.
So this is like literally my fastest painting. It was my most. This is literally a 2-hour painting.
Yeah.
Hour and a half to 2 hours. That was it.
Yeah.
And for this to be one of my most impactful painting in my art journey, which is so funny that I did it in an hour and a half.
Yeah. But sometimes like yeah, sometimes it's that like, it's just that sense, you know, it just happens that way where it's like, you get the feeling and you get the moment, the mood, or, you know, everything just aligns properly where it's like, you know, the concept, the skill level that's already there that you built up for years, you know, the education, all of that, like it just lines up for a moment. It's just like, I can do this. And like, that's why like, when it comes to like, maybe like pricing artwork and somebody like, and every now and then somebody asks me, man, how long did it take you to do that? And it's like, if I tell you it took me 2 hours, you might think, you ain't put that much time into it. But it's like, yeah, but everything aligned in a way where it's like, I got the skills to be able to do it that fast. You know what I mean? You know?
Oh my! I'll be having this talk and conversation with so many people. How people don't realize, people think, oh, you're not paying for the time. Like, oh, it's only took you an hour. It's only took you 30 minutes. You're paying for the person's whole life it took to build that skill set to get to that point where he can even the knowledge to do this style, to do this way, and that type. That's even more impressive to me. I would want that painting even more. If someone took the same painting that someone takes weeks and months to do, and he did it in 1 hour, that's even more skillful.
Yeah.
I would want that even more.
Yeah. It's a fact. Yeah. Well, and you know what could be, what could attribute to that is like, when you go into like kind of tourist areas and you have people like, you go up to New York and people make those quick paintings and on the streets or whatever, and which is the same thing. Like they've spent years and time like learning the material to perfect that, to be like, oh yeah, I can do this on the street for you in 10 minutes and sell it to you. But then they're selling it for like, you know, drug prices almost. You know, it's like, oh yeah, I need to get these off. And it's like, nah.
They saw it next to nothing.
Yeah. So it's really yeah. It's almost the artist's fault for like creating the market that way. But then like, you know, you end up getting into like poverty and the reasons why people need money at the time that they need it and why they, you know, might hustle the way they hustle.
Oh yeah, there's so many paintings that I sold for way lower than it should have been valued at because I need the money. I wish I didn't.
It's a fact. I hear that. So yeah, that's even more impressive. That it was just like, and like, it was interesting that you had said it the way you had said it when you were like, I was going to this protest and I was like, you said like I needed a sign that was going to be cool, because like I when I look at this painting, I see a painting, but then like for you to reference it as I need a sign, it's like, because I'm an artist. I would think the same way. It's like, if I'm gonna represent myself in this space, I'm gonna do it as an artist. And so for you to be like, this is my sign, but it's like, this is also just a good painting. Like I could just come out here and you know, I could have did this at any time. And so like for it to like serve in both ways, or serve, you know, for both purposes, I think is even like way more interesting than you just said it that way. And then it was just like, yeah, because like as far as how long it took you to take it, like that was like sign making time. Like, oh yeah, I need a sign. Hour and a half, 2 hours. I busted it out. It was like, you take it out of the context of the event, and it's like, yeah, this can go up on my next exhibition though. You know?
And that's kind of how so two crazy things happened in this one time. So once I did it, I got so much love and appreciation from everybody. Everybody kept stopping me, say I loved your sign. I probably took pictures over like 100 people that was there. It got I think it got shouted out over like 100 something times, and just seeing all the love and appreciation, I was so gratitude for that. And that's how you said it took a time of a sign to make it more efficient. That's how this whole, which became a new style, was I did the subject in black and white and the brown color, because I wanted my abstract colors still, but I could not paint his whole body in abstract color in an hour and a half. No.
Yeah.
But in black and white, I could, yes. Mm-hmm. That's 3 colors: black, whites, and grays.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a fact.
Yeah, I was like, I could do that. So I was like, yeah, I could do a whole person black and white in an hour. Yeah, not in color. No. Yeah. That's where the style came about, where I did what made it even more powerful, doing him in black and white and the background in color.
Tight.
Mm.
Yes, these are stories I like, man.
Yeah, it can't. I birthed a whole new style just for efficiency.
Yeah, like it's really interesting how those things come out. Like I think I can like go through a lot of my pieces and be like, oh yeah, this came out of this, cause and effect type of thing. So, so yeah, I think we made it to the sketchbook. I think I had this and one more image, but yeah, like so like this feels like, dang, I didn't realize it now, but now that we've had this like conversation and looking into it, like this kind of brings, as far as like professionalism and like skill and talent and all of that, just like brings back like even from your first early sketches of trying to create like a defined facial features, and then moving into like this mature state of mark making, like like all that came in, like feel like a great combination here to where like the forehead, I can see it's clear like horizontal and vertical mark making, but then there's like this natural tones that are used, but then it still has this like powerful use of like just vibrant colors. And again, like this is just like you jumping in the sketchbook, and so I wanted like again like bringing back the sketchbook and how much, like how important it is to like have to own one of those as an artist. And granted, you do what you do, but for me, it's like, have a sketchbook, because this is where you just like get to have fun.
That's where you get to have fun and work on your craft, and then you have, like you said, you have moments where you perfect something you would never thought to do.
Mm-hmm.
And with you was just painting on a big form, trying to paint a portrait, because you're just having fun and you're trying to figure out what's the style I'm trying to do. Like that's why I love my sketchbook. My sketchbooks it basically tells a story of my journey, one thing. Yeah. Which I love it. And especially different phases I go through and perfecting things.
Yeah, it's making me miss all the sketchbooks I left at home. That's
I got this right here. I got a sketchbook here. Got a sketchbook here. Got another sketchbook here.
Right.
Got three. This 3 right here. This is only 3.
Yeah. Right. A sketchbook check. You know what I mean? We all in there. Got mine. You know what I mean? And the rest I got a couple up on the shelf over there, but yeah, that was part of the reason why I did like my April series, was because like I was just missing working in my sketchbook, but I needed like I needed a reason, something to push me to like to create certain images. So like, I was like, how can I like get people involved in this? So I like doing like 30-day challenges and things like that every now and then, because that's something that like motivate me and push me to make sure that I keep doing it, as opposed to just like, do I just get inspired because I want to sketch that day, or something like that. So I like, for one, like I like filling sketchbooks. I like, creating like at times I like creating in volume. So like me pushing to get 100 of these paintings done has been the immediate follow up to my 30-day drawing one. So yeah, like that's something I really enjoy doing. So yeah, like I also like just like the setting of this image too, because like you said, like you're going out in nature, going to the park and just like pulling out.
Yeah, I was right Mount Chester. I was in downtown Norfolk, the middle near Waterside, where they have like the grass area.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was right there just painting.
Yeah.
I remember that, and I was like, yeah.
So like I would have drove right over to the pagoda, parked there, because that's the best park in downtown.
Yo, I missed that. So during the quarantine, it was like a ghost town. You could just do and just be out there anytime you want. No one was out there. Now it's back to normal. Everybody's out there
now. Yeah. Moving out here, people have been outside all the time, so there's never been. It was, at least my experience here, it was never ghost town. But yeah, when the pandemic definitely when it first hit, it was super ghost town, and I was just like, all right, I can go out and do some things.
I remember was going to Waterside with my dog, and like nobody was there. It was just me and my dog. Like maybe like 1-2 people. Now it's go to Waterside any time of the day. It's like at least 60, 40 people.
Yeah,
that could be nobody.
People trying to get their booze on, man. All the restaurants back open. People having fun. They're trying to have their day parties and brunches.
Oh yeah, I live the secluded beach life. I go to like the private beaches and chill. That's where.
Yeah, but yeah, that just reminded me. Like you've also been doing like a lot of events I don't even know how to categorize them necessarily, but I just know that you've been like kind of participating. I think you always have really like doing a lot of live painting and kind of showing up in those spaces. And then like I think like you look really good in those spaces too. Like you bring a certain energy that like it seems to attract everybody. That like you got your like core group of like people that you roll with. That like everything like just always matches as far as what you're doing in your career. So I was gonna like snap a photo of like one of the flyers or whatever, but in my mind I was like I was gonna be snapping it because of it being like thinking that you created the flyer, but I wasn't sure, so I just gotta let it be. But even still, it's like
most flyers I create. Yeah. If I post it, I probably create it.
Fire.
Because I don't like posting flyers that look like not like I
yeah
stuff.
yeah facts facts. I hear that. I think so. I didn't want to get into this last one. Cool picture here in front of the.
Oh, nice! I got that sketchbook right here.
Yeah. And then it seems like you were using like markers here for this one.
Yeah, actually got it here. Where is it? This one right here. I need to see.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. I actually use these markers. I got a bunch of these markers from Barnes and Noble. They're like high quality ink alcohol markers.
Mm-hmm.
And I used alcohol ink markers before. And once I started using them, I realized they give you a watercolor effect, but instantly without waiting for the water half to dry.
That's it. Yep.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I love this.
Yep. Yeah, I learned a lot about layering with watercolor too. So like, I definitely that's why I feel like this.
So imagine you get all the cool layering of the watercolor without like oversaturating the paper, getting the wrinkles in the paper, letting it dry, all that. Yeah, I was like, oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Only thing is, I need to buy some more colors because this set it's hard. Like it'll be like the color thing will be this light, but the color is just really this saturated, which is nowhere near this. You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be like that's that, which makes no sense. Right. So I'm trying to find like a little bit lighter. But that's fun because you can really get like a high quality watercolor looking painting in under an hour with it. Marker.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I was when you were about to say where you got them from, I was thinking you might have got them from Jerry's. I know Jerry's I know they got that type of markers too, but then like every now and then if you go to their I usually always end up in whatever art store I'm at, their like clearance section and see what they got kind of hanging around. They usually got something in there where it'll be a bunch of random colors of a random type of material that you never use. And that's a good space to just like find some things to explore because you can buy it for cheap and then you can just have fun with it. Because I bought some like papyrus paper from there thinking I was like, oh, it'd be fun to try to sketch or draw on this type of paper because it's like the old classic, like, early forms of paper. So I could create some sketches or drawings on that. And I did a couple and I wasn't necessarily like excited about it, but it was, it was sketching effort, but something I probably might return to once I get it again. I left it in Richmond. But yeah, what I was gonna say what Beaches is, but I want everybody showing up to it. And it's still your,
I don't think it was at Beach. It was at Oakview Park. That's what. Okay. It's in Chesapeake.
All right. Yeah, most people ain't going over there. Anyway.
Yeah, it's like you gotta find a secluded part in there. Like when you get there, there's a lot of people there, but there's certain parts that's more secluded.
Yeah.
Which is it's secluded because it's like a hike to get there. It's like a little bit of a walk. Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, it's a lot of hikes out here to get to places, so I get that. That's fine. I think this is the last jazz, the last joint I got. So yeah, it's the last image I got. So I can wrap up the story. And I'm gonna leave on that first image so you can get a sense of and feel that. It's the last image I got. That's the end of the story I got to share. I think we covered quite some good information there. So again, super nice to dig into other parts of your career and see what you got going. That's what I was going to ask. Like what things you want to share that you got going on coming up. Yeah, what's that looking like?
Actually, great way to segue. I actually have an art show coming up July 23rd at Norfolk State Art Gallery.
Oh, fire.
Yeah, and Mr. Solomon's been helping me out. It's gonna be me and 3 other artists.
Nice.
We are all Black artists, and we will be showcasing our work. I know one of them, is Ray Johnson.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So good to see stuff come together.
yeah, right. Oh man, I'm so excited to be finally having my work in the NSU gallery.
Right.
And I love that art space. And it's gonna be actually it's gonna be more than just like it's a like kind of like a whole experience. So it's gonna be me. I'm gonna be live painting. And as I'm live painting, I'm gonna have a live band with different instruments, with the grand piano. We're also gonna be a violinist, and there's also going to be a Black opera singer, and she's also an NSU grad.
All right.
So this is really going to be like a whole art experience, and that's going to be July 23rd at Norfolk State Art Gallery, and that will be at, I think it starts at 7.
Nice. That's fire. Yeah, I remember.
But I'll be posting about it. Like I'm actually doing the flyer now, so I'll be posting about it like this weekend probably. Yeah.
Yeah, Ray was I think Ray said like he'd been trying to get into that gallery since Clayton had a show there, which was like 2015, 2016. And was funny. It's like Ray said he was at that show and I was at that show because that's when I met Clayton.
Mm-hmm.
I never met Ray, I didn't meet Ray then. I didn't meet Ray until like one of his shows. But and then I was telling him, I was like, yeah, like once he knew that I was like at Norfolk State or I had like pretty much the way to get in there. I was like, yeah, like he was like, we'd always been talking about trying to get that to work out. So it's fire that it finally came full circle. I love seeing that stuff happen, even though like a lot of stuff is happening from a distance that like I was like a part of back in Virginia, and especially in like the Hampton Roads, and trying to make things happen for some people, and then like seeing it actually come to fruition. And whether I was actually a part of like the actual decision making or not, was just like still good, cool to see. It's really just the energy, man. You just got to put the energy out there and really trust that it'll work out.
It will come back to you. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah,
happen like that. I think it's timing. So many things I'll be like, I want it to happen now, and then it doesn't happen, but it might happen 3 years later for me.
Right.
Like all about timing. But I realized like if it happened to me 3 years ago, I wasn't ready for it. Like,
yeah,
I want to yeah.
that was grad school for me. I applied to Pratt like the year after I got out of undergrad, and didn't get in. I applied to 2 grad schools, didn't get in, and like I didn't like feel like necessarily shame. I understood. Like I looked at my work again, and I was just like, it wasn't it. Like,
it wasn't now that you see where you progressed, you're like, oh yeah, it was.
Yeah, and it just made me like look back at.
And then my old portfolio in high school, I was like, oh, this is why I didn't get into all the art schools I wanted to get into.
Right. I wasn't on nothing.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, look, the eyes crooked. This is
yeah.
The proportions make no sense. I'm like, what was I doing?
Yeah, and I think you said something earlier too that like it reminded me of myself when like coming out of undergrad, I didn't feel like I came out with a style. And for one, like going to an HBCU, I think I don't think it's necessarily just HBCUs, but when you're looking at like what seniors are doing coming out of their grad program or coming out of their college programs versus other schools or other maybe art schools, it's like you can see such a vast difference. I used to like when I was in grad school at Norfolk State, me and a couple of my classmates used to go to like our senior show at Norfolk State, then we'll go to the senior show over at ODU. And like just like to see, like comparing the work and seeing like the difference and like like not necessarily skill or talent, but just like having like a style or subject matter that they were kind of going for, you would see just like the vast difference. And I was like always trying to like bridge that gap, or feeling like that gap needed to be bridged to where like the students are coming into the school and are coming in as artists with some type of sense of what they want to do, learning the basics, but then like taking the time outside of the school and to like develop their own like concepts and ideas. And so again, it wasn't until like 4 years after undergrad that I started developing my figurative work with my agents like that.
Oh, that was 4 years after you graduated.
Yeah, that's 2014, 2015 when I started making those characters. And then painting even later than that, like that, these paintings like this didn't really start happening until I was in grad school, and so I didn't really.
Yeah, you want to see a painting I did in college?
Yeah, pull it out. I can see that.
My Rembrandt. I always show my Rembrandt. But yeah, this is basically what I do. We're just painting, and I didn't have a style yet, but I was just replicating what I saw.
Mm-hmm.
It's like an old master painting.
Oh wow!
Yeah, we literally had to like build the canvas, make it a replica the same size of the original painting. Canvas. Did the wood, and it's the old master's oil painting technique.
Right.
Yeah.
That's actually fired up.
See, this basically I was replicating exactly like the old masters would do back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I don't think I think if we ever had that or were given that as a task when I was in school, never pushed. I don't feel like I was ever pushed enough to like do it to that quality. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think the closest I got to that, maybe, well, not that, but like one of my favorite artists is Charles White, and I really like his styling and in his early career, like his kind of cubistic styled work. And so I, kind of did some like master copies in a sketchbook of like some of his works, because I was like, in order to like perfect his style, I was thinking like, if I want to do it, it's like I'll just find an image and replicate it, trying to use some of his style. But I was like, if I want to get good at it, I should just do exactly what it is that he's doing and just get familiar with, replicating his work. And then it kind of translated again until I started developing my own stuff. So I definitely get that.
It's crazy how your style comes about.
Yeah.
That's why I love learning like different people's journeys, like how they became where they're at right now.
Yeah. And that's what this is all about. It's a good way to segue to the end. This is about capturing people's journeys and everybody sharing their different perspectives and storylines and get into the nitty gritty of it. So, I've enjoyed that. I got to get 5 paintings done today anyway, so I got to get on with the rest of my day, so that I can have me an evening. But appreciate you coming on and being excited to come do this. And
oh yeah, appreciate you having me, man.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, like hopefully this always happens where like I'll do one and be like, all right, let me go start lining up some more people. I just get in pockets of like being interested in wanting to do interviews and that. Part of it is just due to like the success of viewership. Like if there's more views, then I'd be probably more inclined to do them. But like as I'm doing, I like building it mostly for myself. For one, it's like, all right, I just get to enjoy these and share them as I can, and then you can also use it to share with people and let them know that like you were telling your story. And so just come up when it comes up or pop up on the YouTube channel Agency Arts. Use
nice
channel.
Oh, I gotta check it out on YouTube. Okay.
Yeah. I got quite a few interviews. I got a lot of stuff with poetry on there. Ray, a couple other people that I rock with. So a lot of the storylines in there is based on like Norfolk State. Not Norfolk State. It's based on like the Hampton Roads area. So it'd be interesting. Like I think it's interesting for that space in general, like artists in that area to like see that like these people are living in your neck of the woods, and so you can like see these people, learn from them. So as I build up and make more friends or whatever out here, maybe I'll start bringing in some people out here. But I haven't really met anybody out here art wise, so I'm relying on people I already know. So.
Oh yeah, well you had a whole journey. Yeah, you just got out there. You had a whole journey. So yeah, that's on that. And I'm just loving seeing your whole progress out there. I can't wait to see more.
Appreciate it. All right. So yeah, make sure everybody like, subscribe, follow CG_paints or just CG Paints.
Yeah, CG_paints
on Instagram. I'll pop it up on the screen.
Oh yeah, definitely. And my website, chrisgreenpaints.com. Check out more stuff. But yeah, mainly those 2 things to see all my art that it has to in store. You get to see the art journey and the new stuff I'm working on. We're working on a bunch of new stuff.
Yeah, and you got a big show coming up July 23rd. So make sure y'all check it. I'll make sure I get this video out before that so you can use it for a little promo.
I appreciate it, man. Yes, definitely. I'm excited for it.
All right. I'll let you later, bro.
All right, thanks again, man. You take care. Have a good one.